First episode begins with Nan and Theo emerging from the church after tying the knot. Patty and Tracy are in a panic, having learned that Nan's biological mother is there. They told Nan she was dead, but she's not. Meanwhile, Guy and Ginny are in the carriage, putting as much distance between Ginny and the abusive Sea-Down as possible. Patty barrels into the reception to find Nell, aka Nan's bio-mom. Patty urges Nell to meet her outside so they can talk. Elsewhere, Nan, like Patty, is also in panic mode. Conchita comforts her friend. She reassures Nan that she did the right thing, sending Ginny away. They're soon joined by the Elmsworth sisters, Lizzie and Mabel. Our four Buccaneers hold hands as they forge ahead, making a beeline for the wedding reception. Inside the party, Nan locks eyes with Theo. However, instead of approaching her new husband, she flees. Outside, Nan bursts into tears. It's all too much. The secret of helping Ginny escape, her love for Guy. The Dowager Duchess of Tintagel finds Nan among the trees. She reveals that attendees are asking why the bride is MIA. Nan claims she can't live a lie. She must tell Theo the truth about Ginny. The Dowager reminds Nan about their arrangement. She vowed to protect Ginny in exchange for Nan marrying her son, and she wouldn't disclose Nan's infidelity to Theo, or with whom Nan was in bed. The Dowager urges Nan to get back to the reception and perform her Duchess duties. Meanwhile, Theo asks Lizzie if she's seen Nan. Lizzie glances at a man named Hector Robinson, and they get their silent flirt on. Theo tells Lizzie about Hector, playing the matchmaker. Elsewhere, Lord and Lady Brightlingsea break away from the wedding party for a spell. Lord Brightlingsea not so subtly hints at his desire for some sexy times. However, we know he's terminally ill, and at this moment, he's struck by a wave of weakness. He decides to lie down instead. Lady Brightlingsea cries once he leaves the room. Later, Mabel and Honoria share a dance outside. Mabel apologizes for Honoria's sick father. They chat about Mabel dropping everything to be with Honoria. She cast aside an engagement for true love. Next, Patty introduces Nan to Nell, claiming the latter is the former's aunt. Nell just hasn't been involved with the family for 19 years. Nell and Nan reunite outside during one of Nan's panic attacks. She tells who she believes is her aunt about the Ginny situation. Nan didn't marry for love. Nell essentially advises Nan to accept her situation and move forward. This is the bed she's made. Nan must lie in it. Plus, Ginny is safe now, and Theo loves Nan. Then Theo finds Nan with Nell. The newlyweds walk to the beach, holding hands. Just when we think Nan will divulge the Ginny situation, she pivots, per the Dowager's instructions. She tells Theo the best decision she's made thus far is marrying him. They have sex on the beach. Nan thinks about Guy. Afterward, Nan reveals the truth about Ginny's escape. Theo still doesn't know about Nan and Guy sleeping together the night before. Elsewhere, Patty and Nell have it out. Patty tells Nell about her desire to divorce Tracy. We learn that Nell is Patty's sister, so if Nan were Patty's biological daughter, Nell would be her aunt. However, while Patty was nursing baby Ginny, Tracy threw himself on Nell, impregnating her. Nell reminds Patty that she took Nan away from her. She didn't get to spend any time with her daughter. Not to mention, she was younger than Nan when Tracy approached her. Patty asserts they must keep this aspect of the lie in the dark. Nan must not know. Outside, the titular Buccaneers light a lantern for Ginny. The views are stunning. We see Guy staring at the same moon as Nan. Patty visits Nell in her room. She apologizes to Nell. She shouldn't have blamed Nell for Tracy's inability to control himself. Patty regrets not protecting her little sister. Then, Patty invites Nell to Thanksgiving. She should be involved in Nan and Ginny's lives. However, Nell isn't so sure she wants that. She's met Nan. Nell doesn't want to be sidelined as the aunt. Perhaps it's best to cut ties. Meanwhile, Nan's maids greet her with a "Your Grace" before dressing her for the day. She is the Duchess of Tintagel, after all. At the same time, Conchita and Dickie ride their carriage back to London. Financially, they're in dire straits. Conchita's father gambled away the family fortune, and with Dickie's dying father, they're poised to become Lord and Lady Brightlingsea. This includes ownership of Dickie's mother, sister, and all their debts. Conchita vows to look at the books. Perhaps they can trim the financial fat, as it were. Then, a maid fits Nan for her gown for Lady Hadstock's black and white ball. This will be Nan's Duchess debut. Nan continues to press about her sister. Is Ginny okay? The Dowager insists she has the situation under control. Conchita looks through the books and sighs. There's not a lot of monetary wiggle room. After this, Conchita meets Mrs. Merrigan and her daughter Cora. They're here for the London season to snag a lord or duke for Cora. Conchita recognizes the Merrigan surname. It's a well-known store in New York. However, in London, Mrs. Merrigan and her daughter are regarded more like grocers. Next, Dickie brings his parents and sister together for a chat. It's time to air their grievances. Lady Brightlingsea wishes Seadown were here because he would at least hand her a sherry. Elsewhere, Lizzie runs into Hector, who's waiting outside the Marital house. Lizzie and Mabel are staying with Conchita and Dickie. Mabel watches her sister get her flirt on with Hector from the window. Hector asks Lizzie if she plans to attend the black and white ball, and if so, if she would spare him a dance. Then, Conchita rejoins her in-laws with her financial findings. Could they perhaps sell the beach house? Sell the horses? Put some paintings up for auction? Lord and Lady Brightlingsea shoot all these ideas down. Lord Brightlingsea wonders if they could give a few tenants the boot. Conchita and Dickie despise this, but something in her father-in-law's words gives her an idea. Later, Patty and Nell decide to head back to America. Patty gives Nell Tracy's boat ticket. She still plans to divorce him. Nan asks Nell about her falling out with Patty. When did they stop talking? As it turns out, 19 years ago. Nan is 19 years old. She silently puts two and two together. After Nell and Patty depart in a carriage, Nan informs her dad that she'll arrange a carriage for him as well and buy him a new boat ticket. Nan definitely knows the truth now. Conchita and Dickie meet with Mrs. Merrigan and Cora. The plan is for Conchita to become Cora's mentor and teacher. Dickie reassures the Merrigans that Cora will find no finer an instructor than Conchita. And since the Merrigans are rich, the Maribels are charging them. Perhaps this will help turn the financial tide for them. Meanwhile, Theo finds Guy's coat with his stitched handkerchief in one of the pockets. Suspicious. The Dowager reminds her son that Guy Thwart has spent more time in this castle than he has. It's also entirely possible that Guy has more than one coat. Theo acknowledges that his mother is right. Girl, all the red flags are waving in front of your face. Nan reads the newspaper and discovers Ginny is the hot topic of discussion. Lady Seadown's still missing, dead or mad, is emblazoned in bold black letters on the front page. Outside, Seadown himself confronts Nan, demanding to know where his wife is. Nan claims ignorance. Seadown threatens her, grabbing Nan's arm. He declares he will find Ginny and apologize for how she felt, and he'll give Ginny Nan's regards. Nan barges back into the castle and tells the Dowager about Seadown confronting her. He's actively looking for Ginny, and now that she's on the front page of every newspaper, he will most certainly find her. The Dowager reminds Nan about the news cycle. The media will inevitably forget Ginny and move on to the next newsworthy thing. Speaking of Ginny, she and Guy pose as a couple while checking into a hotel room. A woman, Paloma Ballardino, shows them to their oceanfront room. It looks like paradise. Nan gets ready for the impending ball. Upon her arrival, the Duchess of Tintagel dazzles in deep crimson. She takes Nell's advice, in a way, to paint that castle red. Her gown and makeup are a bit anachronistic, but she still looks stunning. It's enough to draw attention away from Ginny. The next day, we see the headline, Duchess dazzles in red. Even Guy reads the paper and smiles. Second episode begins with Guy writing a letter while ensconced in his new seaside home in Italy. He's finding it challenging to adjust to life with Ginny and baby Freddie. Of course, the papers are all abuzz with updates on the Duke and Duchess of Tintagel's honeymoon tour. We see Nan and Theo emerge from their carriage while on said tour, waving and grinning for the adoring public. Then, we see Guy has addressed his letter to Lizzie. He asks her to give it to Nan. Guy doesn't want to break up the Tintagel marriage. However, with this missive, he's offering Nan a choice. She can live with him and Ginny in Italy. He implores Lizzie to do what's right for Nan. After this, Nan and Theo return to Tintagel after 3 months of touring. The Dowager is thrilled to see them. Elsewhere, Conchita and Richard prepare Cora for the spring gala at Tintagel Castle. Mrs. Merrigan, Cora's mother, sits in on the lesson. Cora claims she knows all the lords and their county seats and could probably guess what they ate for breakfast. She's ready to put what she learned from Conchita and Richard to the test. Meanwhile, Nan, now in her quarters, grabs Guy's shirt and sobs into it. She's unhappy. She misses Guy. Theo overhears her sobbing and stands outside her door, looking crestfallen. Then, Lizzie arrives for a visit. She has Guy's letter to Nan in her hands, but before she reunites with her friend, she pockets it. It's abundantly clear that she's struggling with the weight of this decision. Does she help break up a marriage for true love? Nan points out that Hector is here for Theo's pre-gala event. Every year before Parliament opens, he invites all the most prominent lords to Tintagel. Lizzie appears excited to see him. However, she's more concerned about Nan. She pulls Nan aside for a chat. Nan insists she's okay. Theo is kind. They're getting along swimmingly. Lizzie is unconvinced. Later, Nan announces Theo, who collectively greets the lords and ladies assembled for the hunt for the Holy Grail. Nan spots Seadown as he skulks among the bevy of people. Well, that is, until he sees Nan. Then he makes himself known. The lords behind Seadown offer words of encouragement regarding his missing wife. Once Theo releases the group to find the Grail, the Dowager reminds Nan that it's her job to ensure Theo maintains healthy relationships with all the lords, personal feelings aside. She must have clocked Nan's despying Seadown in the crowd. Then, Theo and Lizzie reunite in the woods. She claims she has no clue where to look for this Grail. Legend has it, King Arthur drank from it. However, Theo reveals the family uses it to serve nuts every Christmas. He regales Lizzie with the tale of Arthur, Guinevere, and Lancelot, how Guinevere's affair with Lancelot catalyzed the downfall of Arthur and his kingdom. Next, Nan watches as Hector ingratiates himself with Seadown. After this, the MP chats with her for a spell. Hector isn't a Seadown fan, but it's all about getting his bill passed. Every show of support could bring this bill to fruition. Hector is a champion of the working-class man, and this bill ensures they can own land and stand on equal footing with the 1%. Hector encourages Nan to use her voice, citing that she's one of the most powerful people in the country. He would also love her help. Meanwhile, in Italy, Guy discovers Ginny is MIA. He takes baby Freddie outside to search for her. Ginny sits outside a cafe with Paloma, the kindly landlord of the house they're living in. Paloma believes Ginny and Guy are married. They get candid about sex and how it's supposed to be fun. Ginny shares what little knowledge she has about it, that you're supposed to just lie there. Paloma assumes this is directed at Guy, not Seadown. Later, Guy tracks Ginny down and pulls her away from Paloma. Guy reminds her of the dangers of running off. Ginny was feeling stir-crazy and had to break free. Guy sacrificed everything, a potential life with Nan, to protect Ginny and Freddie from Seadown. Both Ginny and Guy admit they resent each other. Ginny makes an executive decision to return home to England. However, Guy shows Ginny headlines from various newspapers, all stating that Ginny is mad and that she stole Seadown's child. If she were to head back to England, she could be tried in court as a criminal. Italy is significantly safer at the moment. Then, Conchita and Richard have some unexpected visitors, Lady Brightlingsea and Honoria. As it turns out, Lord Brightlingsea has passed away. So Richard wasn't invited to his own father's funeral? Lady Brightlingsea, well, Lady Marital now, as that title goes to Conchita, explains that the bailiffs took everything, including both houses. This means Lady Marital and Honoria must stay with the newly christened Brightlingeseas. Elsewhere, Lizzie pretends to spot the Holy Grail in a creek. She utilizes Theo's distraction to splash water in his face. He retaliates. Then, he helps Lizzie find her missing bracelet in the water, even refastening it around her wrist. Sparks fly. Theo leads Lizzie to a massive mausoleum for the Tintagel family. There, he discloses Nan's melancholy. He heard her crying. Nan and Hector burst through the doors of the mausoleum with the Holy Grail in hand. Meanwhile, Lady Marital gives Cora a reality check. Marriage isn't about love, it's a contract. And as for Conchita and Richard, Marital explains that Richard traveled across the ocean to find a wealthy bride in New York. Once Cora finds a husband, she'll be balancing books of a different kind. Cora looks dispirited by Marital's truth bomb. After this, Nan and Lizzie get ready for the spring gala. Lizzie examines Guy's letter to Nan before concealing it again. She informs Nan that Theo hears her weeping. Lizzie points out that tears aren't the cornerstone of a happy marriage. Nan fires back at Lizzie, asking what the latter knows about marriage. Nan insists she's stuck in this union. There's nothing to be done. Outside, Lizzie stands on the roof, observing Theo from afar. Hector surprises her with cutlery-free food, which, if you recall, is a vital component of Lizzie's perfect day. Elsewhere, Cora throws everything Conchita taught her out of the window. She's unfiltered with the lords who approach her. Conchita and Richard try to impress upon said lords that Cora's father is quite rich and she has a sizable dowry. Still, Cora scares them all away. What's the point if love isn't the objective here? Meanwhile, Mabel and Honoria make out in their new room. Others in the Brightlingsea household might assume they're roommates, but we know better. Lady Marital knocks on their door, interrupting the dress removal process. This feels homophobic, especially during Pride Month. Honoria offers to join her mother in a moment. She tells Mabel that she's all Marital has left. At the same time, Conchita confronts Cora about her behavior. Cora threatens to tell her mother, who's paying Conchita good money for this, that Conchita took a tone with her. After Cora leaves, Conchita tells Richard she's proving to be trouble for them. Richard teases that he likes trouble, and Conchita loves a good challenge. Later, Seadown informs Nan of his intention to continue searching for Ginny. News arrives every day, making the possibility of finding her increasingly likely. Seadown insists that Ginny isn't in her right mind. However, once she and Freddie are back in the country, Seadown will see to Ginny's medical care. Nan delivers a heartfelt, stirring speech at dinner. Much of it is pointedly directed at Seadown. Nan acknowledges Hector's important bill for the working-class man. However, Nan is more focused on ensuring women have a voice, that they're no longer property, that they aren't prisoners in their own homes. Nan vows to use her voice to uplift women, and should any man try to threaten a woman's autonomy, Nan will exercise her power to put that man in his place. Theo echoes his wife's sentiments and starts clapping for her. Everyone else follows suit. Even the dowager looks supportive. Theo excuses himself from the dinner table. Nan follows him out into the woods. Unfortunately, Seadown tails her. He confronts Nan for embarrassing him at dinner. He claims it'll be the last time she pulls a stunt like that. Suddenly, Theo punches Seadown. He orders that abusive post to get away from Nan. After Seadown flees, Theo embraces her. Nan apologizes for her emotional state. She discloses that adjusting to this new chapter hasn't been easy for her. However, she wants their marriage to work. Later, Mabel plays backgammon with Lady Marital. Mabel proves she can keep up with Marital's insults by dishing them out as well as she can take them. Nan knocks on Lizzie's door, and the two chat about letting Guy go. As it turns out, Lizzie never gave his letter to Nan. In fact, she burned it. Nan is fully devoted to Theo now, despite her love for Guy. Inside the castle, Nan tosses Guy's shirt into the fire. Then, she has a lovely day riding horses with her husband. In Italy, Guy watches with a smile as Ginny embraces her son. Nan bids farewell to Lizzie and the others as several carriages depart from Tintagel. Theo apologizes to Seadown for punching him. Seadown recognizes that Nan doesn't know of Ginny's whereabouts. However, there's no way that either Theo or Nan hasn't heard from Guy. That's when Theo learns about Guy's involvement in all this. Seadown divulges that several servants saw Guy with Nan the night before the wedding, and that he departed with Ginny in the early hours of the following morning. Theo puts two and two together as he approaches Nan. He ain't happy. Third episode begins with Theo confronting Nan after he learns about Guy spending the night with her. He demands the truth. Nan quietly admits that Guy was in her bed the night before the wedding. The dowager tries to diffuse the tension. Nan also confesses that she needed Theo's title as a cushion of protection for Ginny. After he storms off, the dowager thanks Nan for not disclosing her participation in this. Later, we learn it's been 3 weeks since that explosive revelation upended the Tintagel household. Well, more like upended Theo's life. He hasn't been seen around the castle since. Nan tells the dowager they should consider canceling Lizzie's birthday bash. The dowager counters that if they do that, it will appear to the public that all is not well. They must keep up appearances. If a partygoer asks about Theo, she and Nan will claim he's away on business. Next, Conchita, Richard, and Cora are en route to the Tintagel Castle. Lizzie's surprise birthday party is a Midsummer Night's Dream themed, and Conchita and Cora look positively ethereal. They argue about Cora finding a husband. Cora insists that Conchita and Richard aren't the pinnacle of true romance. Meanwhile, Nan gets ready for the party. As she puts on her fairy wings, she thinks about Guy. We see him briefly brooding in Italy. After this, Nan greets the guests as they arrive at Tintagel. Hector is nervous. He has a big question to ask Lizzie. Besides that, he tells Nan that her speech at the gala is making waves in the house, in a good way. It's time to strike while the iron is hot. However, he could use the support of the Duke, too. Then we see Conchita, Mabel, and Honoria escort a blindfolded Lizzie to the front lawn. They lead her to the location of the party. Surprise! Hector compliments Lizzie and her band of fairies before insisting they all grab drinks. Next, Conchita asks Nan about Theo. Where is he? He's gone, Nan whispers. She provides no context, leaving Conchita hanging. Elsewhere, the dowager reunites with an old friend lover, Reed Robinson, Hector's father. Sparks fly. The flames are rekindled. In Italy, Ginny attempts to purchase food in the market, but her Italian is rusty. Paloma swoops in and saves the day. She shows Ginny the ropes regarding the art of haggling in the market. Upon returning to the house, Paloma asks Ginny if she comes from money. Ginny tries to deny her wealthy upbringing, but Paloma can spot money from a mile away. Guy enters to find Ginny preparing dinner. He looks skeptical. Later, the dowager reunites with Theo after his impromptu vacation. He's resolute in remaining at Tintagel now. Theo declares he shouldn't feel ashamed. The dowager hopes reconciliation between him and Nan is on the horizon. However, Theo is also resolute that he'll never mend fences with Nan. That said, he can't divorce her. The dowager suggests they send Nan away, but only after she provides Tintagel with an heir. After this, Theo makes a fashionably late entrance at Lizzie's birthday party. He and Nan share a tense dance. Outside, Lizzie and Mabel take a stroll through the trees before Hector asks Lizzie if she'll go on a walk with him. Mrs. Elmsworth barges in, asking Mabel if she's being proper, maintaining normalcy and trying not to bring shame to the family. Mabel responds with her signature incisive wit, effectively putting her mom in her place. Elsewhere, Hector proposes to Lizzie. She accepts. Inside, Cora continues to press Conchita's buttons. At the same time, Reedy challenges the dowager. He reminds her of who she used to be before motherhood and the institution took hold. Then, Guy, Ginny, and Paloma attempt to eat dinner. As it turns out, Ginny doesn't have an innate flair for the culinary arts. To brighten the mood, Ginny commences a food fight. Our trio laughs as they hurl pasta at each other. Nan meets Theo in his quarters. She apologizes for it all. He kisses her passionately and urges her to tell him she wants him. Nan obeys. However, Theo pulls away, claiming he can't do this. He was clearly planning to put a baby in Nan before sending her off. Then, he admits that she can't leave Tintagel without producing an heir. Nan wonders if this is per the dreadful institution or his mother. Meanwhile, Richard flirts with Conchita in front of Cora. It also makes Cora smile. Nan and the dowager step outside for a confrontation. Nan ain't happy. She accuses the dowager of throwing her under the bus, of going back on their deal. And guess what? The Tintagel line will end here. She refuses to give Theo a child. Nan storms off. The dowager, overcome with emotion, glances across the yard to find Reed observing her. Next, Lizzie excitedly tells Theo about Hector's proposal in the latter's art studio. Theo claims he would be thrilled if it were any other woman. However, he believes Lizzie is extraordinary, and she deserves an extraordinary love, not a safe marriage. Lizzie looks flummoxed. After this, Lizzie returns to the party. Hector announces his and Lizzie's impending nuptials to the big crowd. The wheels are turning in Lizzie's head. Theo's words undoubtedly had an impact. Meanwhile, Cora apologizes to Conchita. She sees now that Conchita and Richard have a wonderful love story. Conchita admits it wasn't love at first sight, though. When they met, Richard danced with her friend and knocked over a champagne tower. He was awkward and clumsy. Conchita reveals she should have taken a different approach with Cora. Now, she encourages Cora to think of finding a husband as granting these men the opportunity to spend time with her. No pressure. Cora spots a man wearing yellow socks, which is apparently her thing. Conchita urges Cora to introduce herself, which she does. Richard rejoins Conchita. Conchita muses that perhaps she should pivot with her matchmaking services. That evening, the Dowager and Reed chat about Nan's big move. Obviously, the Tintagel line must continue and thrive. Reed advises the Dowager to change Nan's mind, even if it drives a wedge between her and her son. Even if it means the Dowager and Reed can't be together. Nan must stay here. After this, Mabel and Honoria chat at the party. They secretly hold hands as Mabel admits she's glad they have each other. Mrs. Elmsworth observes Mabel from afar. She tries to enlist Conchita's services, declaring she'll pay Conchita double her price to find a husband for Mabel. Meanwhile, the Dowager discloses the truth to Theo. She put Nan and Theo in this cage of a marriage. The Dowager explains that she found Nan and Guy together in bed. Then she didn't give Nan a choice. She knew Nan wanted to save Ginny, so she'd need the Tintagel title. The Dowager used her power to force Nan to marry Theo. Theo is hurt. He orders his mom to leave his castle. Later, Nan rummages through the Dowager's belongings in her quarters. She finds a missive with Guy and Ginny's address in Italy. Lizzie finds Nan after this. Nan plans to leave for Italy that night to reunite with Guy. It's always been Guy. Lizzie admits that Guy sent her a letter asking about Nan. She withholds the bit about Guy wanting Nan to join him in Italy. Lizzie burned the letter. After asking Nan if she's sure her relationship with Theo is beyond repair, Lizzie encourages her to run to Guy. Next, Lizzie approaches Theo, who's searching for Nan. Lizzie doesn't divulge the truth about Nan escaping the castle like a thief in the night. She tells Theo that his words in the art studio resonated with her. Perhaps she deserves a thrilling, pulsating, extraordinary love. Theo apologizes for what he said to Lizzie earlier. He wasn't in his right mind. There's nothing wrong with a safe marriage. Meanwhile, Nan is in a carriage, the letter with Guy and Ginny's address in her hand. She's still in her fairy getup. Fourth episode begins with Theo rotting in bed after Nan absconded from the Tintagel castle like a thief in the night. He's having an understandable depressive episode, and sometimes those episodes morph into dancing around one's room to non-diegetic music, particularly Modern Girl by Bleachers. Meanwhile, Hector hosts a fundraiser for a school. He's been raising money for said school for 5 years now. They're £300 away from their goal. He thanks his fiancée, Lizzie, for supporting him before asking for bids for a vase. Mabel wastes no time loudly voicing her dislike for the vase. However, Honoria begins a bidding war with Lord Halcrest, a buddy of Richard's. Then, Theo makes a surprise appearance, pledging £350 for the vase. He's the winner. Theo gives it to Honoria. Hector admits that Theo has never attended his fundraisers before. Later, Theo tells Hector point blank that Nan is gone after the latter asks about her. He smiles to soften the blow, making Hector believe it was a joke. Of course, Lizzie knows the truth. Elsewhere, Nan reunites with Guy in Italy. Initially, he's incredulous. He can't believe he's seeing Nan in the bustling marketplace. Then, Ginny pops up with Freddie. She embraces her baby sister and introduces her to her child. Next, Lizzie asks Theo how he's doing. He admits it hurts that Nan left. However, he feels he can breathe again, as if he can finally keep his head above water. Theo insists his life isn't over. Lizzie asks the Duke what he wants. After he gives her the once-over, Theo teases that he longs for another drink. Then, Conchita and Richard conspire to set up Lord Halcrest with Mabel. Well, more like Richard plants the seed. After all, they've already used Mrs. Elmsworth's advance to pay off some bills. Conchita looks hesitant to dabble in her friend's romantic life. Later, the Dowager Duchess tries her hand at gardening after retreating to her cottage in the middle of nowhere. Reed drops by for an unexpected visit. She informs him that Nan is gone and Theo won't speak to her. It'll blow over eventually. Reed decides to help the Dowager smash some rotten pumpkins. In Italy, Guy and Ginny take Nan to their humble abode. Nan observes as Ginny and Guy tend to Freddie. After this, Nan asks Ginny if the latter is in love with Guy. Ginny's living the life Nan wants. Ginny reassures Nan that this isn't the case. Despite this suspicion, Nan insists she'd do it all again. Marry a duke to save Ginny's life. Meanwhile, Richard pulls Mabel into a badminton game. She would play with Lord Halcrest against Conchita and Richard. Mabel's knack for racket sports is known the world over. During the game, Conchita and Richard notice that Mabel and Lord Halcrest seem to be getting on. Once it ends, though, Mabel is content to return to Honoria's side. She's uninterested in entertaining Lord Boring. Mabel asks Honoria if she pined for her. Honoria not so subtly hints that Conchita and Richard were trying to play matchmaker with Mabel and Lord Halcrest. Of course, Mabel's one and only is Honoria. At the same time, Ginny informs Guy and Nan that she's out of milk for Freddie. Both volunteer simultaneously to fetch some for her. Ginny believes they should go together so they can sort their shit out. Later, Guy gives Nan a tour of the town. Nan calls Guy out for acting strangely around her. Guy states that her visit caught him by surprise. Sure, he asked her to join him, but that was months ago. He assumed her lack of a response was a response. The argument pivots to the sacrifices they've both made to save Ginny. Guy calls out Nan for being entitled after she diminishes his sacrifice because he's living in paradise. After tempers cool, Guy claims he couldn't believe his eyes in the market today. He sees Nan everywhere, so the genuine article standing before him took him aback. Nan suggests they get ice cream. Then, Lizzie and Hector have their first argument. Hector is frustrated because Theo's stealing all the attention at his fundraiser for the school. Lizzie reminds her fiancé that it's not about this secret rivalry between Hector and Theo. It's about the school. Tempers flare, so Lizzie storms off. Next, Theo finds Lizzie. Lizzie confronts Theo regarding his presence today. He's not there to support the school. It's about his bruised ego. Lizzie demands to know why he's here. You know why, Theo responds. They kiss. After a few seconds of passionate smooching, Lizzie breaks away. She insists she must get back to the party. Elsewhere, Blanche and Reed chat about what's next. Blanche supposes they'll have to wait for Nan to return. Reed tells her about how he nursed the heartbreak of losing her all those years ago with a case of Chateauneuf-du-Pape. This gives Blanche an idea. Guy and Nan realize the ice cream place is closed. Then, a man approaches, asking them in Italian if they're there for the bride or the groom. Guy discovers that Nan is fluent in Italian as she rattles off a response. The man invites them to the wedding. There, Nan and Guy dance joyfully, uninhibited, among the guests. Meanwhile, Ginny hears a knock on the door. Unfortunately, it's Seadown. Ginny tries to slam the door in his face, but he catches it. Uh-oh. At the same time, Lizzie barrels toward Hector after her clandestine kiss with Theo. Mabel asks her if there's anything amiss. She brushes Mabel off. Then, Mabel notes Theo watching them from afar. She seemingly begins to put two and two together. Hector apologizes to Lizzie for being selfish and short-sighted. He's grateful to Lizzie for keeping him level-headed. In Italy, Seadown holds Freddie, much to Ginny's terror. Seadown tries to appeal to Ginny's sensibilities. He thanks her for taking care of their son. Seadown asks Ginny about his name, which she refuses to disclose. Then he pivots, claiming that Ginny makes him a better man. Seadown claims he seemed hard-hearted in the past, which is as close to an apology as he will ever get. And it's still not an apology. Seadown claims he loves Ginny and wants to be a father to their son. Ginny asks him to leave. Before he departs, Seadown leaves the name and address of his hotel. Ginny can meet him there to talk. Later, Mabel calls Conchita out for trying to set her up with Lord Halcrest. Whenever someone catches Mabel's eye, she talks to them. She's not shy. Then, it's here that Mabel learns about her mother paying Conchita to find a marriage match for her. Mabel reminds Conchita that they've been friends forever. She's not like Cora. She storms off. Next, Paloma catches Guy and Nan holding hands as they leave the wedding. Naturally, she's suspicious. She assumed Guy and Ginny were married. Guy takes Nan to a secluded spot by the water, where they finally kiss. In England, Hector bids farewell to Lizzie, seeing her to her carriage. He hopes Lizzie is happy. Lizzie looks pensive, but she reassures him that she has every reason to be happy. He kisses her hand before they part ways. Ginny stayed up all night, painstakingly mulling over her options. She starts packing her belongings while reassuring Freddie that Nan will save them. Then she spots Guy and Nan outside, dancing and laughing. It's now early the next morning. Guy and Nan lie entangled together in bed before going to sleep. Later, Nan and Ginny reunite on the balcony. Nan admits she and Guy forgot to buy milk. Ginny claims that despite this place being a paradise at face value, it becomes less so when you realize you can't go home. Nan spies a newspaper with the headline, "Momentum Gathers as Duchess Backs Women's Bill." Then Nan tells Guy she must return to England. Ginny can't leave Italy until Parliament passes the women's bill. It'll offer her protection. This also means Nan must remain married to Theo, since the Duchess title gives her the power to enact true change. Guy is frustrated. Ginny takes Freddie to meet Seadown outside his hotel. Meanwhile, Lizzie arrives at Tintagel. She and Theo have sex.
Fifth episode begins with Theo and Lizzie in their affair era. After this, Lizzie fetches her clothes while in Theo's art studio. He begs her to stay. Never mind that she's about to walk down the aisle and he himself is married. Theo admits he's falling in love with Lizzie, which gives her pause. Then Nan arrives. Her return is unexpected. Lizzie ducks behind an easel. Nan apologizes for everything. She claims she has a solution to their marital dilemma. Theo suggests they reconvene inside the castle. Once Nan begins the trek back to Tintagel, Theo reassures Lizzie that it's okay to emerge. She flees the scene with tears streaking her face. Next, Nan proposes that she remain at Tintagel for the sake of appearances. Obviously, divorce is off the table. She will stay there until the bill passes and it's safe for Ginny to return from Italy. Then Nan will get her own place. Theo will be free to do what he pleases. Meanwhile, Conchita and Richard ensure preparations are underway for Lizzie and Hector's impending nuptials. The Brightlingsea household is full of floral arrangements. Conchita has a heart-to-heart with Mabel. They mend fences. Mabel reminds Conchita that if she were in the market for a husband, she would enlist Conchita's services, preferably without her mom's money. Mabel tells Conchita that Mrs. Elmsworth has made it her lifelong mission to fix her. Mrs. Elmsworth eavesdrops on their conversation with a pained expression. Conchita pivots, stating that Honoria is really flourishing. She's practically screaming to break free. Mabel looks pensive. Elsewhere, Ginny and Seadown take a walk with little Freddie. He wonders what he can do to win back Ginny's trust. Seadown kisses her hand, claiming he's glad she's putting herself first for once. Ginny smiles. Then Lizzie discloses her affair with Theo to Mabel, who already had an idea that something was afoot. She gazes at her wedding dress and veil. Lizzie admits that she feels feverish with Theo in that she can't think straight. Her heart's on fire. She doesn't feel that fire with Hector. What if she wakes up one day with regret over marrying the wrong man? Later, Nan and Theo decide to attend Lizzie and Hector's pre-wedding bash together. Nan discovers Lizzie's earring on the stairs, but doesn't realize it belongs to Lizzie. She pockets it. At the party, Lizzie and Hector greet their guests, including Dylan Mulvaney as Miss Bloomingdale. She calls Hector heavenly. Ginny and Freddie meet Seadown for lunch. Seadown reveals he purchased 2 boat tickets for them so they can return to England. He approves of her staying with Nan in the meantime. Naturally, Ginny goes into panic mode but conceals it. She excuses herself, claiming Freddie needs his nap. Elsewhere, Guy broods with a glass of wine. He's quite busy being broody. Paloma drops by with things for Ginny, believing she's with Guy. However, Guy realizes that Ginny is nowhere to be found. That's when Paloma calls Guy out for canoodling with Nan. Guy finally discloses the truth. He and Ginny aren't married. They fled to Italy to escape her abusive husband. Meanwhile, Reed chats with Honoria about a teaching gig in Provence, France. Mabel catches wind of their conversation. Initially, the idea of Honoria leaving her to pursue her dreams takes Mabel aback, but look at how far Miss Marable has come. Then Hector toasts to Lizzie and his future mother-in-law. Nan and Theo make a fashionable and public entrance. Theo surreptitiously reaches for Lizzie's hand and urges her to meet him in the park at 4 p.m. After this, Mabel helps Honoria dress for their toast to Lizzie. Mabel encourages Honoria to live life to the fullest. She's lucky to have seen the world. Now it's Honoria's turn. Next, Mabel delivers a lovely speech for her big sister. She tells the crowd about Lizzie's marital and familial hopes: to have 10 children to run races with her, a husband who gives her sweets every day, and a juggling sky blue kitten. Mabel can't fulfill the first two, but she can deliver the goods for that last one. Honoria emerges with blue cat ears and a matching vest. She juggles oranges for the cheering partygoers. Later, Paloma brings Guy a bottle of wine before asking him about Nan. Guy claims he doesn't want to talk about her. After all, she's gone. It's time to move on. Paloma proposes they get their drink on instead. Nothing soothes heartache like getting plastered with a buddy in an oceanfront apartment in Italy. Elsewhere, Lizzie arrives in the park for her clandestine meeting with Theo. She insists she's going to marry Hector as planned. Not even her love for Theo will alter that course. Meanwhile, it's montage time in Italy as Guy and Paloma let loose. They draw each other and chase each other. Guy drunkenly urges Paloma to punch him as hard as she can, which she does. She tries to catch him as he falls and lands on top of him. Guy asks why they haven't done this previously before kissing her. At the same time, Nan, Conchita, Lizzie, and Mabel have a slumber party the night before the wedding. Nan tells the gang all about her Italian excursion. She asserts that Ginny loves and misses them all. Lizzie apologizes for lying about Guy's letter to Nan and encouraging her to go. The following morning, Guy and Paloma wake up in bed. Paloma begins dressing. She admits she's glad that he wasn't the man Ginny claimed was bad in bed. Guy asks where she's going. Paloma insists they're adults. They can compartmentalize. Guy wants to see her again, though. Paloma reciprocates the sentiment before they kiss. Then, Mrs. Elmsworth wakes up our titular Buccaneers on the day of the ceremony. Theo is already outside, brooding on the bridge. Reed helps Hector get dressed for his big day. He tells his son he's proud of him and that Lizzie is a wonderful woman. Hector believes they'll look out for one another. That's what it's all about, right? Reed admits that's some of what it's all about. After this, Blanche, a.k.a. the Dowager Duchess, appears. She and Reed finally kiss. She's ready to take their relationship to the next level. Meanwhile, Mabel and Mrs. Elmsworth have a heart-to-heart after Mabel admits she wants to return with the latter to New York. Mrs. Elmsworth tells her daughter about her time in Montreal as a young woman before marrying Mr. Elmsworth. Initially, she didn't want to leave Montreal. However, there's a wide, wide world outside Montreal. You can have many homes, and Mabel will find her way. She's a bright, strong young woman. They hug it out. In Italy, Paloma drops her things and stoops down to pick them up. During this act, she notices her hand, particularly her ring finger. It boasts a gold band. Then Theo runs toward the church for a sweeping, romantic gesture to stop Lizzie from tying the knot with Hector. Lizzie and the gang arrive at the church. Before she enters the church, though, she spots a sweaty Theo standing off to the side. Lizzie excuses herself for a few minutes. Theo urges Lizzie not to marry Hector unless he can give her the fiery love she deserves. A whole love. He advises her not to settle. However, if she's certain that Hector is the one, he'll cheer her on in that church. Theo understands that Lizzie deserves more than to be the mistress. After all, he can't divorce Nan. If Hector doesn't make her heart flutter, perhaps Lizzie should choose herself until she finds that all-consuming, passionate love. Lizzie returns to the church entrance, where Nan, Conchita, Mabel, Honoria, and Mrs. Elmsworth wait for her. They're all concerned. They notice Lizzie has been crying. However, the screen cuts to black before we learn about her decision.
Sixth episode begins with Guy buying flowers in the breezy, bustling Italian marketplace. He spots Seadown from afar. In a panic, he drops the flowers and races back to his home. Guy informs Ginny about Seadown. He insists they leave now. However, Ginny is well aware of Seadown's presence in their town. Even worse, she's considering going back to England with him. Unfortunately, Freddie is gone. Seadown is 100% the culprit. Well, if Seadown absconded with Freddie to lure Ginny out of Italy, his plan worked. We see Ginny and Guy return to England, where they crash at the Marital house. Nan, Conchita, Lizzie, Mabel, and Honoria are there to embrace and comfort Ginny. Richard and Lady Marital watch the reunion from a distance. Then we learn that a journalist from the Times is en route, courtesy of Theo's pull as the Duke of Tintagel. Nan reminds Ginny that, according to English law, she kidnapped Seadown's baby. She's in danger of facing the might of the law. Thankfully, Nan is fighting tooth and nail to change that law. Hopefully, this journalist can get Ginny's story out there and smear Seadown's name. Next, Guy and Theo reunite. Initially, it's awkward. However, at the end of the day, these two are BFFs. Not even falling for the same woman can change that. They hug it out. After this, Bert Clark, the journalist, arrives. Theo escorts Bert to the sitting room where Ginny awaits him. Naturally, Bert is taken aback. Ginny is a wanted woman, after all. That said, he's willing to listen to Ginny as she tells the truth about Seadown. Elsewhere, Lady Marital chats with Seadown, who paints a picture that casts him as the victim. In his eyes, Ginny kidnapped his child. Her friends manipulate Ginny into believing he's the villain. We learn that Seadown is currently staying in Aunt Emily's mansion outside London. He plans to bring Ginny there. The following morning, Bert's article is on the front page of the latest edition of The Times. He wholeheartedly supports Ginny and rehabilitates her image in the eyes of the public. Seadown reads the article in Aunt Emily's home and looks pissed. Later, Lizzie and Theo run into each other in the Marital house. We learn that Lizzie called off her marriage to Hector. Was it for Theo? Was it merely for herself? Regardless, Lizzie claims she doesn't regret her decision. Theo states that he misses her, but Richard breaks up the tender moment. He and Theo are heading out to search for Freddie. After this, Hector arrives. Lizzie apologizes profusely for how she handled things. She tells Hector that he deserves to be with someone who truly loves him. She thanks him for doing this for them, meaning her and the titular Buccaneers. However, he's not lending a hand for her, but for Nan and Ginny. Next, Hector tells Nan and Ginny that passing the new bill and ultimately overturning that harmful law will take time. Rome wasn't built in a day, but the Home Secretary will be at the opera that evening, as will the Buccaneers. Nan might have enough pull as a duchess to sway him. Sure enough, Nan works her magic in the opera house. She and the Home Secretary share a box together. Nan offers the influence of House Tintagel to bolster him. Meanwhile, Guy and Theo chat at the house. Theo shares that he and Nan are under one roof, but they're not together in that way. Guy wonders what they can do about men like Seadown. Theo believes they must thank God for women. Elsewhere, Lady Marital brings Ginny a dress to wear to the opera. Ginny asks her mother-in-law to disclose Freddie's location. However, Lady Marital claims ignorance, only that Ginny should try to mend fences with Seadown. That article has him in pieces. So, Ginny puts on the dress and heads to the opera. She decides to confront Seadown directly. At the same time, our Buccaneers are in shock as Seadown enters his box at the opera. Ginny follows hot on his heels. The opera attendees watch with rapt attention as she demands answers from Seadown. Where's Freddie? He feigns fear, cowering for the audience. He grabs her wrist to make it appear she's attempting to hurt him. Eventually, Ginny slaps Seadown. Seadown calls for help, claiming Ginny is out of control. Two men cart her away. Nan and the others attempt to chase them down. Later, on Seadown's orders, they check Ginny into an asylum. Ginny insists she's of sound mind, claiming she's only inquiring about her son's whereabouts. Nan and Guy track down the asylum, where the former demands to see her sister. The woman she talks to asserts that Ginny isn't allowed visitors per Seadown's request. Seadown visits Ginny the next day. He reveals how it's terrifying for him to see her like this, adding that she's unwell. Of course, that's untrue. Ginny asks about Freddie. Seadown evades her question again, declaring that this isn't about their son, it's about her getting better. What transpires next is a montage of Ginny refusing to eat her food. Worries about Freddie's well-being are all-consuming. Seadown returns days later to finally give Ginny a glimpse of Freddie. We see a maid holding him outside the building. Ginny changes her methods. She thanks Seadown for taking care of her and Freddie. She acknowledges that she needs help and will accept his treatment. So, Seadown brings Ginny home. She reunites with Freddie. Unfortunately, Seadown cuts the reunion short, insisting that Ginny must rest for her safety and Freddie's. After this, we see Ginny dressed to Seadown's liking, sitting across from him for, presumably, dinner time. Seadown rattles off his overly used, meaningless catchphrase, "Only us." Ginny accepts her fate as his prisoner, but she will never love him. She can't. She's only here for Freddie. Seadown abruptly ends dinner time and forces her out of her chair. Meanwhile, Lady Marital insists that Seadown only wants to impress Richard. That's always been his objective, to make his older brother proud of him. She asks Richard to pay Seadown a visit and talk sense into him. Elsewhere, Guy and Nan have a heart-to-heart. Guy apologizes for making Nan feel bad for prioritizing Ginny's well-being over his own. Nan declares that it's always been him, never Theo. She's willing to fight for Guy, and he reciprocates her declaration. After this, Richard and Honoria depart for Seadown's house. Everyone bids them farewell. The plan is to rescue Ginny and Freddie. Richard will distract Seadown while Honoria fetches them. The three siblings reminisce about spending their childhood here and how unfortunate Aunt Emily wouldn't let them sit on her favorite sofa. Honoria offers to flag down a maid for tea while Richard and Seadown chat about women. Richard tries to appeal to Seadown's misogynistic views, even claiming that Conchita wasn't fun to be around after giving birth to Minnie. Of course, we know that he loves Conchita more than anyone and anything. Seadown claims that Ginny will never love him again. Richard casts intermittent glances toward the stairs, hoping Honoria ushers Ginny and Freddie out the door soon. Honoria finds Ginny, who's locked in her room. Ginny urges Honoria to save Freddie first. Honoria does just this, getting into the carriage with Freddie. Seadown eventually realizes what's happening. However, it's too late. Honoria and Freddie are already escaping in the carriage. So, Richard races upstairs and kicks down the door to save Ginny. They find Seadown standing in the foyer, a gun trained on them. Richard puts Ginny behind him and attempts to reason with his younger brother. Then, Richard lunges toward the gun and the two wrestle over it. Richard yells at Ginny to run. He won't be far behind her. Ginny flees. Inside the house, Richard continues trying to wrest control of the gun from Seadown. After Ginny escapes, Seadown begins sobbing. Richard comforts him and says he knows how much Seadown loves Ginny. Seadown pushes Richard away and presses the gun against his temple. Richard tries to pacify Seadown and defuse the tense situation. He asks Seadown to put the gun down. They will figure out what comes next together. Seadown sits on the bench across from Richard, claiming the latter knows nothing about him. Seadown still has the gun pressed to his temple. Richard insists it's over. Ginny's gone. Ginny runs toward a large tree at the end of the yard. She ducks behind it and tries to catch her breath. Suddenly, she hears a gunshot emanating from the house. Inside, Seadown sobs while still holding the gun. Richard lies in a pool of his own blood. Seadown apologizes over and over. Ginny sees Richard dead and runs. Then we see her walk all the way back to London. Ginny tearfully informs the group about Seadown killing Richard. Conchita sobs uncontrollably as Honoria, Mabel, and Lizzie embrace her. Next, we see Nan arrives at the Patricia St. George divorce trial. She's finally had enough and wants to throw off the shackles of her miserable marriage. After the lying and cheating, she wants to send a message to other women that they don't have to stand for what Tracy has done to her. We also hear offhand that James Seadown has been put behind bars for his actions, so Ginny and Freddie are at least safe for the time being. This allows Nan to hop over and visit Patricia at the courthouse, but things don't go to plan. The incident involving Ginny and her incarceration is spun into a question on Patricia's parentage, as is her initiating sexual relations with Tracy to keep him coming home to her. During the court's recess, after running through the streets with Guy, Nan then confronts Nell and calls her out for being a coward and staying quiet. Nell bites back about Nan's privilege and how she's never really had to experience a difficult life. Not really. The divorce trial continues, and this time, Patricia shows up with Nell and Nan. Nell takes to the witness stand and reveals about Nan being her daughter. She has letters signed by Tracy outlining what they've done, along with a ton of other evidence, too. Thankfully, this works in Patricia's favor, and she's free from her marriage shackles, prompting a big celebration. As the episode closes out, Nan figures out that the earring she found on the stairs at home belongs to Lizzie. However, before she can contemplate this, Guy introduces Paloma, his wife. Next, Nan rides across the beach on a horse. It's been 2 weeks, and Guy rides up alongside her, pleading with Nan to talk. Nan doesn't really care about Theo, but is clinging to the title of Duchess, and is quite quick to point that out to Theo afterwards. He opens up about how she stamped on his heart, but Nan is stubborn in her resolve. Right in the midst of all this drama, an article is released in the papers about the affair, without disclosing Lizzie's name, and this sends Theo into raptures. He's convinced that it's Nan and flies into an uncontrollable rage. Hector shows up to see Lizzie next. He's seen the newspaper articles and offers to try and protect her. He's been given a big position in the cabinet, and despite what's happened between them, he's still a good man and wants to do what's right. Hector still loves her and wants to protect Lizzie, eventually asking her to marry him. At the party that night, she eventually agrees to his proposal. However, as we find out later in the episode, Hector was the one who leaked this to the press. He obviously saw Lizzie and Theo getting close, but this shameful way of forcing Lizzie's hand could end up eating away at him forever. Latecomers to the party happen to be Guy and Paloma. Midnight hits, and the big announcement is revealed. However, it's Theo that steps up first and professes his love for Lizzie. He also renounces his title of Duke and decides to abdicate and divorce. That way, he can offer everything to the one he loves. This also means that Nan is no longer going to be a duchess. Nan runs out, while the dowager drops a bombshell of her own. She's rung Kit, who is on his way. He's Theo's half-brother, and this way the title stays in the family. With the new Duke arriving, things are about to be shaken up in a big way. Lizzie races after Nan and apologizes once again, who bemoans that this situation isn't so simple anymore. She confesses to having Theo's baby, but she's not going to tell him. She wants Lizzie to lie for her and not reveal where she's going, nor tell Theo about his child, as she's decided to up and leave. Lizzie catches up with Theo, but we don't see whether she actually tells him the truth, as Nan smiles to herself and runs away.